Well, hello and welcome back, everybody. Dan John here from danjohnuniversity.com. Episode 132. Okay, a little weightlifting joke. Or episode 60 if you're using kilos. Kilos to pounds. Okay, I'm sorry about that. A lot of people don't wait around towards the end, and then they ask me the same question on YouTube all the time. How do you send in questions? So send questions in to podcast at danjohnuniversity.com. And, I really am happy to answer each and every one. We got a good lineup of questions today. There's some really like longish questions, and I'll read them until like I get bored, if that's fair to you. Okay, let's begin. We got a question from Evan, and Evan says, "I have two questions for you. The first question is about elbow positioning during the clean and jerk. After receiving the clean, my elbows are high and my upper arms are parallel to the floor." You're up. Yeah, that's exactly what they should be. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be some variation because of body types and maybe even injuries. But if you basically have mobile, flexible wrists, hands, and oddly, even a little bit of elbow mobility, that's kind of where you want to be, nice and tall. As I prepare to jerk, how much, if any, should I drop my elbows? My coaches told me, that would be Dick Notmeyer and Jim Schmitz, that there should be no drop of the elbows at all. You should keep that rack. In fact, we used to have this thing, we always talked about how it would make a fun contest where you would just have the weights here, kind of like how the Frankenstein style doing front squats, and you'd try to throw the weight up as high as you could, just by having it on those pads. No. What you want to do is dip and then slam, okay? If I don't drop my elbows, my wrists feel very unstable, and I feel very weak on the jerk. If I do drop my elbows, I'm not sure how low is too low. Yeah, you should almost not even use your arms when you jerk. I mean, okay, as coaches, we make those massive statements like that, and then of course, and then we come in and have to explain it 100 more times. But yeah, I would say you keep those elbows high, and it's just simply a snap and head drives through. Maybe I should see videos. My second question is about the deadlift. I like to barbell deadlift from the floor, but as my deadlifts get above 300 pounds, I tend to feel them in my lower back. I've been strengthening my glutes with glute loop hip thrusts and clamshells, focusing on proper bracing before each rep, lightening the load to focus on technique, and strengthening my grip through hanging and loaded carries. Despite all of this, I still get a sore lower back after deadlifting and usually tweak my lower back a couple times per year. Boy, Evan, I think we're sliding right over into maybe you need to see a qualified like physical therapist or physio, depending on where you're in the world. Get that looked at. I'd love to have you see somebody who's, like Stu McGill, who'd be able to take that apart for you. But yeah, does this sound like a technique issue? I haven't seen your technique, so I don't know. It can be. I'm a big believer. This is what I was taught, and I always thought it was true, that when the bar is on the floor and your hands are on it, that your first job is to leg press the weight. So drive your heels as hard as you can and leg press the weight up versus, shooting those hips up. If you're shooting your hips up, yeah, there's no question that's going to hurt your back. Strength issue, that's tough to say. A focus issue, I wouldn't think so. A person over 30 issue, now we're coming into a little bit more wisdom. Not sure if this info helps, but I've tried trap bar deadlifting with a high handles. My back feels better, but the movement becomes more of a hinge squat hybrid, and it feels like I'm cheating with the shorter range of motion. Thank you for any advice and tips. Well, it comes down to this. Are you going to powerlift? If yes, you're going to have to figure out a way around this. If no, forget it. Trap bar deadlift with the high handles. The squat hinge thing you say is true. That's why I like the trap bar for farmer bars. I don't like it for lifting because you really do need to figure that hinge squatty thing out. So let's just go with those answers and let's hope for the best for you. If you want to send me a video or something, or we want to talk later, get a hold of me. We can see what we can do. Okay. Thanks. Got a question from Daniel. What a beautiful name. Can you point out a few pros and cons of using the ladder system that I and any other listeners might not have taken into consideration, specifically with regards to barbell lifts, if you've ever used them for that? Yeah. So the ladder system is, you do a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and then some people go, you put weight on the bar, you go a set of 1, set of 2, set of 3, set of 4, set of 5. Some then do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but the most common be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The upside and the real pro of it is this: after you do that set of 5, especially with the bars at a good load, that 1 and that 2 right after it. I mean, when I was doing that with the rite of passage, I don't even think I rested sometimes. I barely rested on the easy days, because it'd be like, do a set of 5 and, well, I'm ready to go for 1 or 2 right now, So that's the biggest pro, is that you get that easy, harder, hard, easy, harder, easy, and that's the big pro. The biggest con is the one I tried to fix with the 2, 3, 5 numbers. I hate lifting 1s and 4s. I never lift 4s. Never would I do 4 reps. Never. 4 reps. Oh, that's wrong. Okay. But I didn't like singles because I always felt like they were kind of just, like, for example, if I'm doing clean and press, just cleaning the weight up, it was like, why am I just doing this for 1? And so I shifted over to 2, 3, 5, and I had a lot more success. It's a solid program, especially if you have a single load or you're dealing with whatever issues you're dealing with in your facility. If you do like something like the 1 lift a day program and do 2, 3, 5 ladders for the whole 45, half an hour, 45 minutes, you can do front squat or press or whatever. It is an amazing workout. And it's weird because you're going to get a lot of reps. And remember, 2, 3, 5 is a 10 rep ladder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 15. But that's you sneak in that volume. I'm always going so fast through them because it's just the 2s and 3s. I don't need much rest time. So I hope that helped. Daniel, that's a good question. And the problem with, you said pros and cons, there's not really a lot. It's a good training program. I think everybody should have it in their recipe book for training. Yeah. And it comes in well, especially when you're doing the traditional basic, the family of power lifts and Olympic lifts. Okay. Thank you. We have a question from Dakota. Due to quarantine and various life stressors, I don't get a lot of time to go to the gym and use a barbell, but I have an assortment of kettlebells and sandbags to perform things like bear hug squats, goblet squats, and double kettlebell front squats. What is your opinion of doing high repetition squats with kettlebells or sandbags for mass building instead of the tried and true back squat? Well, I think there's real value into it. Now, remember, Dakota, when you get into mass building, here's what seems to work. And I think anybody I trust, now there's a bunch of people pushing drugs and stuff, I don't, but the bulk of us who've done this successfully in a clean environment, it's the high rep back squat is like, let's just say that. Okay. And on the nutritional side, you gotta eat and sleep a lot. You gotta eat and sleep a lot, do high rep back squats. My Mass Made Simple program, you'll notice there's a lot of pressing in there because I think presses and squats help with increasing mass. Could you make some mass changes in your life with this? Oh, absolutely, yeah. And the thing is, don't worry about perfect. Try it out, get some reps in, and take those before, after, and after photos, and just get a sense of things. I think it's a good idea. I hope that helps. Thank you. We have a question from Enrique. I think Enrique is the leader now on the most questions. On the question about complementary exercises for kettlebell sport, sorry if I wasn't clear. What I meant to ask was if doing low rep, high intensity kettlebell work would have value for kettlebell sport For example, if a lifter uses 32s for competition, would doing double 40-kilogram front squats with low reps be useful? Or if it's only better to do high rep, lower intensity work? Enrique, this can be a very quick answer. I have, in all my work, remember, a lot of my work, a lot of my best stuff comes from very smart long distance coaches, some very smart people. And one of the things they taught me is that getting strong helps with endurance. So, it works. It's nice to see guys like Phil Maffetone. He's pushing overhead squats, Romanian deadlifts, and front squats for his runners. So, yeah, I think it will help. And I actually think anytime I read double kettlebell front squat with 40 Ks, my thought is always, yeah, that's going to help. It's going to ruin your night, but it's going to help you get stronger. So yeah, I think it's going to really help. Thank you. We got a question from Kyle. Generally, you provide carries as down and back at the end of the session. Due to previous injury, my low back does not tolerate a heavy lower body lift and heavy carries in the same workout. Sled is fine, just farmers and or bear hug. Oh yeah, that would make sense, because when you do the farmers and the bear hug, that anaconda strength, which you're building, you're going to just fire up those old injuries. You're just going to, I don't think you might get hurt, but the wiring is to be like, this hurts, can you overcome it? I don't know. I also really enjoy doing heavy carries. Would you advise that I take 1 day per week and make heavy carries my main lift, plus hypertrophy work, or keep things more easy? No. My best training programs we've ever done here at the Institute are Fridays were loaded carry only days. I don't know why we got, I know why we got away from it. They redid the streets in my neighborhood and we couldn't use the streets. We could, but it wasn't like it was. And when you put those nice new asphalt and all the lovely cement work out, we just had moved on into a different direction. But yeah, Fridays is loaded carry day. In the original place that I used to train everybody, Saturdays were loaded carry days. People would show up. My Highland Gamers would, play catch with the implements for a while. If I had other throws, we would play, the Javies would play with turbo. They play catch with turbos. And then once we got everything going, we just kind of play. Sometimes it was one person at a time, 8 people, 10 people staying around, farmer work down and back, and then I would do farm, and it worked out nicely, really nicely. And then we'd have a big meal. So yeah, I would say Fridays or whatever day you pick with hypertrophy work. I'm gonna give that the official Dan John thumbs up, patent pending, or keep things more easy straight. Yeah, don't worry about that. Would you make any changes to the aforementioned article, Training Longevity? It really helped put my training in perspective as I age transition into life. Well, yeah, very often I'll write an article and then, about 4 or 5 years later, I'll come up with better tools for the things we were doing then. It doesn't necessarily mean that what we're doing there was wrong. For example, in one of the articles I write about taking ZMA and Z12, this sleep supplement, and now I take Hibernate. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I find that I sleep better with Hibernate. So it's not, you make these small decisions. For a while there, we were adding, let's see, it was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We were doing that Viking warrior conditioning, but I found that doing heavy hands is far better for most of our needs for what we want. So yeah, that, so I don't ever, this isn't being cocky, but I don't think everything I ever wrote in the past was like wrong. I just have better tools now. Gosh, there's some things about kettlebells, like when I was in junior college and even high school, there's some, having a kettlebell out there when I would throw, or I wish I'd have done more pull-ups when I was at high school and at college. I wish I'd ran more stairs. I knew that I didn't do it. I did other things. So, but when I started coaching and I started cobbling together things and, my job has always been to find better tools and easier, faster, simpler ways of doing things. So so nothing. So what I wrote was fine and true. I might just have better tools now. Okay, thanks. We have a question from Brandon, and this is actually it's an easy question, but it's a good one. Brandon says, "Why do some movements come naturally to people?" And then the follow up: Is it just anatomy? See, I'm going to say yes. It is anatomy. It's DNA. But I always tell people that there's two things for elite athletics: genetics and geography. It's also where you are. So if you go to an elite school that specializes in the snatch and clean and jerk, uh, and then you go to another school that does other lifts, you're going to be pretty good, compared to everybody else. Um, I've told people for a long time, if I ever ran a school, elementary school, that every child would be required, and we'd have courses on it in chess. You would have to take chess classes, and the reason I like chess classes, crazy, but the idea is that uh, a it teaches you that you always have an option. If you take my queen, it doesn't mean I lose. I just have to do, or if you attack my queen, I can do an in between move and then win the whole game. Uh, so it is geography, where you are, what your parents like to do, what your brothers and sisters like to do, what your neighbors like to do, and it's anatomy. I mean, if I was to grow up in like Korea, I would have had the worst squat in the school, but I would have been a lot more attuned to beautiful squatting. So yeah, it's good. I have really long limbs, so it seems natural that pushing would be hard for me. But why is squatting so easy? Brandon, in my new book, I'll be talking about this a lot. I have a little quadrant: push, pull, hinge, squat. I'm Dan John, and I'm a push hinger. My friend Pavel is a pull hinger. And in his contest, the TSC, they have pull-ups. In my contest, we would press heavy weights. It's just the way it is. Finally, two, for people who aren't training for competition, should we train to our weaknesses? That is, if I suck at presses, should I focus on them more? Brandon, this question is actually quite good, and you're right now in the place where I'm trying to do my best work. I'm not sure if I can get it out in this book or down the line. So for me, okay, if I'm coaching little Danny John, and I know little Danny, and I was a push monster. All these guys online bragging about this. I was stronger at 162 pounds at 16, 17 years of age than practically anybody you'll ever meet in the bench press. That was good. Pressing always came natural to me. Hinging, I never had to train the deadlift and always had the best deadlift. So if you're coaching me, we're going to get to elite levels in the push and hinges, but we're going to use the pulls, pull-ups, chin-ups, rows, whatever, and the squats for hypertrophy and balance. So if you're working with me, maybe you say to me, listen, Dan, to be an elite thrower, you're going to have to squat 400. And at the time, maybe I'll squat, I don't know, 225. Well, it doesn't matter. So I knew that there was going to be a ceiling on it, and the sooner I got to that 400, I'd be done. In fact, in hindsight, I wish I would have done that. So, yeah, I would say if you suck at something, use it for hypertrophy uses, use it for mobility, and use the lifts you're good at to build the engine. It's a little different than I used to think. I will admit that. But hopefully I keep changing my mind on a few things. Huh? And thank you, Brandon. Good question. Okay, a question from Michael. Another loaded carry question. Oh, the excitement for loaded carries. I have worked a lot of varied loaded carries into my routine in the past year, which I think has paid dividends, good, to complement my more traditional powerlifting background. I felt especially useful yesterday when I was able to carry a set of tires on wheels through 15 inches of snow without gassing myself. Uphill both ways. I've tried to follow your advice with adding lots of variety, but recently I attempted to add some more lateral moving elements, which felt very awkward and not the good kind of awkward. You're about to ask the question, but I'm going to say this from the start. Don't. I don't mind walking backwards with a sled or walking backwards up hills. And we've occasionally done side walking up hills, but that's it. The lateral stuff, just you're putting a lot of weird load on the body. All right, not weird, it's good, but it's just the lateral stuff, and you're getting the same situation, Michael. We never made it work, and everybody would finish the exercise or two like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Okay. And when you hear that a few times, if you're a good coach or even a crappy coach, you should say, okay, I'm gonna listen to you and figure out what's wrong here. His question: have you ever played around with more lateral moving loaded carries, and do you have any advice on implementing or not implementing? Michael, the answer is I don't like them. Now, what's going to happen is some guy's going to go online and make $1 million, who we call the lateral load guy. Oh, trademark that right now. Yeah, but I just don't like him. I don't. You get all you need. If you need lateral work, suitcase carries followed by maybe practicing your skill might be amazing. Okay? Thank you. We got a question from Bill. I know this is a pretty odd question, but I don't seem to suffer the dreaded DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. I've worked out with multiple partners over the decades, and for much of that time, I was doing reps to failure. My partners would always complain of being sore the next day, but unless I do a new exercise, something I haven't done on for a month or two, I don't usually get sore. I have 3 adult sons, and they seem to have won the genetic lottery on this too. Have you heard of this? Have I been not working out hard enough all this time? Do I need to reassess? No. Well, for example, I am sore as we speak right now. Right here, I did an Olympic lifting meet on Saturday, a couple days ago when I do this. And I get so sore here after Olympic lifting meets because I can never match the amount of tension I put on a max clean and jerk. What I do at the meet is much more than I do in training. And so, yeah, I'm sore today. I noticed that once, in my career, once I started doing front squats and I got over that the first couple of weeks, nothing ever made me sore again. So whatever front squats did for me personally, we're talking about purely soreness now. It seemed to cure all the other sorenesses. When I do front squats, my lower back is so locked in, my ab wall is so locked in, and it seems to just kind of fix everything else. But yeah, you won the genetic lottery, and there are those people who don't feel pain. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series has that in there. But yeah, I mean, or you do get, or maybe you do get it, you just don't notice it, which can happen. I told this story many times about my last high school football game was played on Thanksgiving Day, and usually we played games at night, but I hadn't played a game in a day. It was 11 in the morning. Well, by the time dinner rolled around on Thanksgiving night, I remember trying to eat and like pick up things and do things, and I was so sore. Well, when I played games at night, I'd go to, say, game start at 7:30, whatever it was. We'd be done 9:30, 10, go get pizza. I'd be home by 11, maybe later, but really not much. Sleep in on Saturday morning, get up, watch college football, kind of drift around a little bit, do whatever I had to do, maybe mow the lawn or whatever, But I never felt anything. But just a few hours after the game from all this, all the throwing my forearms into people's helmets and stuff, I felt so sore. But I'd never noticed it before, ever, until that day. And then once I knew what to feel for, then I could kind of tell later in my career that there was like that earlier soreness, and then there was the good old-fashioned back squat soreness that 2 days after we can barely get out of bed. Well, good question, and thank you. We have a question from Muhammad. You've mentioned in the book Easy Strength and other places that one of the things you've done yourself and had throwers do is mixing lifting and throwing in one practice session. You also specifically mentioned using kettlebells and how the swing, carries, and other movements can contribute to improving one's throws. I was wondering if one can do this. So, Mohammed, for the answer is you're about to ask if you can use the Olympic lifts. That's how it started. So when I first started doing this idea, I had a truck, this great white truck. I love that truck. I had to get rid of it when the kids needed car seats and all that. Damn it. But I would drive around in my back, would have I had my Olympic bar in the bed and, not a ton of weights, 25s and 35s, so 10s and 15s. And so we would train there, and occasionally I'd look over and kids would be trying to compete with each other in these little mini clean and jerk contests with whatever, the 165 pounds, 75K, and just having fun out there. And I always thought that was just marvelous. So yeah, you absolutely can. Between sets of snatches and clean and jerks, I'd like to know if you've ever done that or if you recommend it or not. It's one of the best things I've ever done, Mohammed. It is one of the best things ever. The reason I like the kettlebell a little bit better is I could take my 28 suitcase, carry it out in the field, put it on the ground, put a towel on top of it, because the sun makes those damn handles so hot. And then I had a little system, and I tried doing a system. I can't remember exactly, but let's just pretend between sets of standing throw 10 sets of swings, half circle wheel drill, and then snatches. Just I had a little system, and that was fine. But later I just freewheeled it and seemed a little bit better. Advice and tips. Yeah, the biggest advice would be this: before you before you carry everything out, make a decision on how much load you want in it. Don't carry out an extra ounce or kilo of weight. Carry out only what you need, because at the end of the workout, carrying it back out is such a pain, and it really is. When we were at the one field, Brighton, they wouldn't let me. I got to drive out the first time, and then the baseball coach bitched about it, and it wasn't even his field, but he's a baseball coach, so yeah. And so we actually had to carry it from the parking lot. And it was so one kid would you'd put you'd put the lighter weights on, and he would carry it, and another kid would carry the heavier plate, and then all their gear. It was fun. Mohammed, great question, and thank you. Oh, we have a question from Deo. What is your approach to teaching or addressing hip contact in the barbell snatch? I've heard and read that hip contact is necessary to lift maximally, as it keeps the bar close and gives the car a bump upward. I don't know if you really bump it upward. When I worked with the Swedes, they were really big into hitting those thighs as hard as they could. I was taught not to because it was illegal when I lifted. In fact, somebody just told me about doing this training program where they're going back to the old style with no skin touch at all. I thought that was kind of interesting. But I do think it does help. The nice thing about hitting the thigh in the snatch, Deo, is that for sure it'll give you a chance to look back physically and go, I got the right spot, and I missed it. Yeah, there should be some. We were always taught to. We didn't really hit it. It's more like we slid it up, but it always ruins your pants. The way we did it just ruined your pants, or you walked around with no hair on the front of your thighs. However, I have also come across it as not a good thing to hump the bar, which means as the hips extend, the jump portion, bumping the bar forward away from the lifter, and that's what we were taught. You're fine up until you get good. I know that when I snatched 314, 142.5 from the videos, it's clear that the bar is in contact with me, but it's sliding on me. But it's in the right spot. In fact, it was probably as high as any snatch I'd ever touched, which makes me think that maybe I was lifting pretty poorly most of my career. I seem to be humping the bar up in this way during my hip extension. What are your thoughts and experiences with this aspect of the lift? Well, I think I told them to you. Why don't you, though, since Dale, why don't you come in and make a decision? Why don't you do a workout where you really hump it or bump it or whatever you're calling it, and then a workout where you try to slide and just get a sense of your own self. And it shouldn't take more than a few attempts. Which one kind of feels right to you? Just feels right. Don't go too much farther than that. And I got to tell you, sometimes your own personal experience is illuminating. I would prefer you probably slide if you're going to take it seriously. But if you're just getting in there to be a better thrower or a Highland gamer, bang away, okay? Good life advice, I guess, too. Hey, well, listen, is that it? Wow. Good question, Dale. Wow, that went fast. Listen, as you know, I'm Dan John from danjohnuniversity.com. If you have questions, send them to the podcast at danjohnuniversity.com. I'm always happy to answer them. We had good questions again this week. But don't work too hard. If you have a question that you think you'd like to hear me answer, send away. I'm happy to. It doesn't have to be, top end or anything. Sometimes those beginner questions open up more doors than some high end stuff. Okay. Well, thanks so much, and until next time, let's all keep on lifting and learning. I'm Dan John from danjohnuniversity.com, and thank you very much.